Once upon a time, in a land where the dawn mist curled over green hills and fireflies lit the night like fallen stars, there was a little village named The people there often whispered about the fairies of the Whispering Woods. They said the fairies painted the flowers with morning dew, brushed the sky with colors at dawn, and guided the fireflies when the moon was high. Most villagers thought these were just old stories to keep children from wandering too far into the forest. But not Ella. Ella was a kind-hearted girl of 12 who loved the old tales more than anything else. While the other children chased sheep or played games in the meadow, Ella would sit beside her grandmother's hearth, listening to stories of fairy queens, enchanted glens, and magical bargains that could change lives. Her grandmother always ended with the same words. Remember, Ella, fairies are real to those who believe, and they always test the heart before granting a gift. One warm summer evening, after a long day of chores, Ella wandered near the edge of the Whispering Woods. The trees there seemed taller, their leaves whispering secrets in the breeze. Suddenly, she heard laughter like bells ringing softly in the wind. Curious, Ella followed the sound and came to a clearing where a circle of mushrooms glowed faintly in the dusk. In the circle, tiny figures with shimmering wings spun and twirled in a dazzling dance. Their gowns were woven from flower petals, their crowns glittered with stardust, and their movements were so graceful it seemed they were weaving the very air into music. Ella gasped. The stories were true. The fairies froze when they noticed her. One, taller than the rest, stepped forward. She wore a crown of silver leaves, and her eyes shone like the light of the moon. Her voice was clear as crystal when she spoke. "You have entered the circle of dancing," the fairy queen said. "Few mortals ever see it. Why have you come here, child of Bramblebrook?" Ella curtsied nervously. "I didn't mean to intrude. I only wished. I wished the stories were real, and now I see they are." The fairies exchanged whispers like rustling leaves. The queen tilted her head and smiled gently. "Stories live when hearts believe in them, but they also carry responsibility. Tell me, Ella, what would you ask of the fairies?" Ella thought carefully. She could have asked for sparkling jewels, endless sweets, or even her own crown of silver. But she remembered the empty barns back home, the thin meals, and the tired faces of her neighbors. So instead she said, "My village has had a poor harvest. The people are hungry. I don't want anything for myself. Can you help us?" The fairy's wings sparkled brighter, for kindness was rarer than gold. The queen lifted her willow wand and touched the ground. Instantly, golden light rippled out across the hills. Fields that had been dry and withered sprang to life, bursting with golden wheat, tall corn, and rows of bright vegetables. Fruit trees blossomed overnight, heavy with apples, pears, and plums. A sweet fragrance filled the air. The fairies clapped with joy, and the queen's voice rang like silver bells. "Because you asked, not for yourself, but for others, your wish is granted. But remember, Ella, the gift of the fairies shines brightest when guarded with humility." Ella bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will not forget." When she returned home, the villagers were astonished. Overnight, their fields had bloomed, and their stores were filled with food. No one could explain the miracle, but Ella's grandmother only smiled knowingly when Ella told her what had happened. "I always told you," her grandmother whispered. "Fairy tales are not just stories. They are lessons, and you have learned the greatest one, that true magic belongs to those who care for others." From that day on, Ella carried the secret of the fairies in her heart. She grew up wise and gentle, never boasting of what she had seen. And though no one else in Bramblebrook ever glimpsed the circle of dancing, Ella often felt a faint laughter in the night breeze, as if the fairies were still watching over her with pride. The villagers never knew who had saved them, but they loved Ella dearly, for her kindness only grew as the years passed. And so, long after she was gone, the children of Bramblebrook still whispered about the fairies of the Whispering Woods, who danced under the moonlight and rewarded those whose hearts were pure. And so it was remembered. True magic lies not in what we gain, but in what we give. Subscribe for more!